Welcome to this video. Unfortunately, no face cam today because I have my monitor, like a big one instead of like a small one. Anyway, you might have already found your goal. So you might have already gotten clear on exactly it is what you want to achieve. You might also have an idea of the path you're going to use in order to achieve this goal. Okay? Should be clear so far. What you have probably also done is taken the first step. So, for example, like created an account on YouTube or Twitter, or I don't know what kind of business you do or like what kind of goal you have, but you probably have already taken the first step. Now, what undoubtedly has happened, pun not intended, is that these doubts start spawning. So, like, what should I offer? What should I charge? I don't know if this is the right niche. No one will buy this. I'm not sure if this will work. All of these doubts start spawning, and you're just not sure what to do. Now, there's actually three things which you can do. There's three options you have. The first option is listening to your mind. So you're going to keep listening, actually listen to, for example, what should I offer, what should I charge? I don't know if this is the right niche, no one will buy this. I'm not sure if this will work. Probably 95% of people try to listen to their mind. What this does is this only brings you more worry, and because of this, you're going to feel more worried because you're thinking about something which hasn't happened yet, which means that you're going to feel worried. Feeling is an emotion, emotion is energy in motion, which means that you're going to be vibrating at a frequency of worry because that's a property of energy. That means you're going to resonate with energy because whenever there's a frequency, the same frequency resonates. Frequency A resonates with frequency A, and you're going to experience a worried reality. Now, there's also another option, and I might have already slightly exposed it here, but that is to convince yourself. So convince yourself this is going to work. Convince yourself everyone will buy this. Convince yourself this is the right niche. Convince yourself that it doesn't matter what you charge, you just charge something. Convince yourself that you know what to offer. This is bad because this requires force. And by the way, about probably 3% of people do this. Okay, now maybe even like, probably the percentages are a bit skewed. I probably would say like 90 here. So here we're going to put 90. Here we're going to put 9. 9% of people try to convince themselves. Maybe even more, but it doesn't matter. This requires force. It takes up a lot of energy. I have personally had experience with this, like when you have these beliefs or these doubts and you try to force yourself to believe the opposite, which is almost impossible because your mind only believes facts. So it's very hard to convince yourself that you're wealthy, that you're rich, if there's $10 staring at you in your bank account. That's very hard to do. So yeah, this will just basically not work. So we've already covered the first option, listening to the mind. 90% of people do this, won't work. 9% of people try to convince themselves, won't work. The third option, which is going to be the best one, and actually one I'm currently also pursuing, because like the mastery of these things takes a little bit more time usually, is going to be act with intent. Now, what does this mean? Well, you basically ignore the mind. So instead of listening to these thoughts, so like, what should I charge? I don't have the right niche, I won't buy this. You just ignore it. It's like, it doesn't matter. You let the doubt and thoughts pass by, just like a sort of like a cloud that just goes in direction to the right. It's obviously not a cloud, but you get the point. And you just keep the goal in mind, and you create momentum by acting on the current step. So that's all you do. Instead of worrying and listening to your mind, you just ignore it like a thought cloud just passing by. You keep the goal in mind and you create momentum by acting on the current step. I'm going to give you a quick example. I probably could make an entire video, either write an entire article about finding your own goal, because most people think it's like 10K a month or financial freedom, but that's not really the goal at all. But let's say that your goal right now, for simplicity's sake, is to buy a private island, okay? That could be one of your goals. And you might think I'm actually aiming very high with this, but if you think that you should probably aim very higher. So, private island. Then, for example, when you set this goal, you're going to start acting on the first step. And you have probably already discovered the path. Once again, I could make like an entire video on this as well. Once you get clear on the path, you might have already got an idea of what the first step is. So let's say that your goal is a private island. The path in order to get to the private island is by becoming a billionaire or like a millionaire. I don't know if you could actually buy a private island as a millionaire. I'm not too sure yet. But let's just say it's a billionaire, and you probably already have an idea of what the first step will be. So for example, you need to create $1 billion, like $1 billion company, for example. So let's say that you want to go into the SaaS space. You're planning on becoming a SaaS billionaire. The first step, for example, could be identifying your niche and trying to identify a problem. What happens next is your mind is going to bubble up these thoughts and they're going to spawn like NPCs all over the place. So no one will buy this, I don't have the right niche, blah, blah, blah. And what you can do next is either listen to your mind. This will probably get you into a worse situation than you were before. You're going to convince yourself. So I am a billionaire. Bro, you're never going to convince yourself you're a billionaire if you have like less than 6 figures. And even then, it's probably very hard. So the final option is to just ignore your mind, let the doubts and thoughts pass by, just keep the goal in mind. And obviously this is the path, so I would have to circulate this. Just keep the goal in mind and create momentum by acting on the current step. And in this case, the current step could just be picking a niche. So you just create momentum, and even if you pick the wrong niche, quote unquote, because there is no wrong niche, what you can then do is still just pick another one later. So you can always see that it doesn't really matter. So just create momentum by acting on the next step. And then soon enough, if you do this for a long period of time, you'll create step, 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 momentum. And eventually you'll reach the goal of your private island and you'll be insanely happy. Obviously, you also should be happy whilst you're actually working towards this, because otherwise you're probably not going to achieve it, but that's a topic for another video. Anyway, hope that sort of drove the point home. The main takeaway is for you to become aware of the doubt you're having. When you have them, take action and ignore them, and just take action on the current step, okay? And keep the goal in mind. And then if you want to kind of do a reflection, which is something I always like to do myself, is to just reflect on what you're actually doing with your mind. So on a day-to-day basis, are you listening to it? On a day-to-day basis, are you convincing yourself to believe something? On a day-to-day basis, are you acting with intent? This is the most preferred option that probably 1% of people actually do. And I'm trying to be a part of them, or actually I'm going to be a part of them. Because now you can see this actually in real action. Because if I say I try to become a part of this, then I would probably imply failure. So if I try to do this, then I'm going to think that there's a possibility that I don't achieve it. Now, you don't have to be completely delusional, but intent is the only thing you need. So in that case, just act with intent, create momentum, and the problems will pretty much just solve itself. So I hope that made sense, and looking forward to seeing you in the next one.